Hello, everyone. Welcome to the awesome day of FileMaker training. I'm creator of FMTrain.tv. I am Richard Carlton. This much better looking person than I am is Andy Lecates from Claris. Hi, there he is. We're going to get to Andy momentarily. So today is a very exciting day in terms of FileMaker because I had meetings at Claris yesterday. In fact, I was just on the phone. And so suddenly Claris is now really engaged with coming on the show and helping us. So with that in mind, this is Andy. Say hi. Hi, everyone. This is Andy.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. And Rich, I know I said it to you, but I apologize to everyone that I can't be on the Discord today. I screwed up all my accounts and my login. I usually like to watch and type back, but today I'll have to trust you, Richard, to bring the questions. So.
There's a missing milk carton here, which is obviously a reference to probably you, because they all know that we have the Andy Lecates missing milk carton here somewhere, which is kind of funny. We'll get that out.
I'm glad you put that out there so I could be thinking.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny. So if you folks have questions, today is kind of an open Q&A, but we have some announcements. It's not like we have FileMaker version 28 is shipping today. No, it's very basic. It's lightweight. Bug releases, some other stealthful things. So we're going to talk to Andy about that. I'm going to share my screen. Where do we want to start with the conversation? So the FileMaker Pro update, right? I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that happened yesterday through today. We launched a V2 or released a V2 updater to FileMaker Pro. It fixes a handful of bugs, and it's a good thing, particularly if you've tried to play it all with the new AI stuff and semantic search. There was an issue on sorting by cosine similarity after you perform semantic search. That's not great, right? We want to make sure that works well. And then there's some other just basic stability and performance improvements in there. So it's worthy to look at. We did, just as a note, Richard, we went to push the bits yesterday. There was an issue with one of the components of our deployment stack. And so the downloads page on our website actually took a little while to get up there. So we announced it. Rosemary put something on community, and then it didn't seem to be available. We got it fixed now. The downloads page is up, so you can get access to it if you want.
Okay, cool. That's excellent news. So this is the FileMaker server, Mac and Windows and Linux updates were a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, and that's another. Right. And then so basically across the platform, I don't know where it goes at, but we're basically at 2102 now. If anyone's keeping track of the numbers like that, so and that's good. Some people always want to have a .2 release before they upgrade. So I haven't seen we haven't seen any big things on our end, Andy, in terms of major blockages to why you wouldn't want to upgrade. So
yeah, there haven't been like major showstoppers like that. I know with server we did have an issue for some customers with server using WebDirect. Yep. It was slower when we first launched 2024. The V2 update fixes that. With Pro, like I said, that cosine similarity sorting issue is kind of fundamental. We wanted to make sure that works well. And there were some ODBC mapping issues with if you're using an ODBC data source where literally we wouldn't show the mapped data, so you couldn't connect your fields. That was a little broke. We need to get that working. So does everybody do that? No, but for the people that do, it's important we get it right. So yeah, V2's out and it's looking better. So.
Perfect. All right, so I'm looking at my list of the goodies that you've thrown out today. We also have this batch invite functionality here. So you want to talk through this a little bit?
Yeah, this one's kind of interesting because it didn't require a sort of front-end update effort to like push a new AMI out to the cloud users. This is entirely back-end work to get it done, but it's a function that a number of our customers have been asking for, which is rather than adding one person to my FileMaker cloud hosting service one at a time, it can be a grind if you have a lot of users. I can now just supply one CSV document, dump it in there, and all the invites go out quickly.
Okay, so this is a bulk invite for cloud. Is it going to come to Studio 2 at some point, do we think? A bulk invite for Studio 2?
Yeah, I think we're going to look at harmonizing Claris ID across the platform and how we work with, accounts that are using the platform. So I think we're looking to see how this works with our customers. And this is a first step as well. There's more to do here. This only works on internal accounts right now, for instance. It doesn't work for external identity providers. So this is step one on a journey to just harmonize and make better the cloud properties and getting people in there to use them. So.
Okay, good. So FileMaker Cloud 20. So just to be clear, so some of you are newer to the platform or inexperienced in some ways. There's a lot of people here, Andy, and you know this, they have silos of great expertise, and there's like little things that they don't know that are like basic, like, oh, how did we miss that, right? So FileMaker FileMaker Server is the tool that we use to kind of host the FileMaker solution, Mac, Windows, and Linux. FileMaker Cloud is where Claris takes that server software, essentially. They bundle it with hardware from Amazon and they sell it software as a service. So that's FileMaker Cloud. We don't talk about it too much, but it's getting better, and I think it's usable for some customers. It might be the best use. Instead of using FileMaker Server, maybe be better off using Cloud, right? And
Absolutely. In fact, it's one of the fastest growing products in our portfolio, particularly since, pandemic happened, people needed to work remote. So there was a lot of interest in cloud hosting then. But even since, I think we just have a lot of customers, particularly in smaller sized businesses that don't have a large IT infrastructure, that would much rather just host it for me. I don't want the hassle, right? And
yes,
cloud can really fit. Now, there are things about cloud that we want to make better, and these go to some of those capabilities around backup management and better maintenance. So yeah, these are some good updates that came out actually, I think in May, but the engineering group just documented it for us, and I think this blog came out last week. So.
yeah. So the short version of this, and so one of the things that Cloud does generally, what I like to see is like between Mac and Windows on Pro, I like to see feature parity as much as can be done. And between the FileMaker Server products, kind of the same thing. And this is in this release right here is interesting because Cloud has a feature in it that I really want on regular FileMaker Server, and that is the ability for the web interface. When you're logged in, yesterday we were talking with Klaus Levin about the web interface, logging in with that, the ability to download a copy of the database through the web interface.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't exist in FileMaker Server right now, but they added it to FileMaker Cloud, right?
Yeah, and improved it in as much as previously, if you wanted to do it, you had to like stop your files, go into the backup folder, download the backup, and then figure out if it was the one that you wanted, and maybe you had to go to a different backup. It was kind of confusing. Now you just go and download the file.
Yeah.
And I believe, Richard, you can get it in an encrypted or unencrypted state.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you have an encryption key on the server and you just want the file and you don't want to have to, you don't know what the key is or whatever, presumably your administrator is providing you access to do this, you can
Yes.
just get the file and start working on it straight away. Yeah.
And that's another little side note for those of you who the subtleties of this. So encryption at rest, we call it EAR, is where the file, the FMP12 file is encrypted. With FileMaker Server,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be. It's kind of optional, but because Claris is part of Apple and Apple's very rigorous in security, as soon as Apple is involved with hosting a file for you, which is essentially kind of what this is, they want, the shields up, maximum battle stations protection for the file, right? And so EAR is required, so the file must be encrypted when the file is parked up on a FileMaker Cloud server, right? So you're buying that as a service, it must be
Mm-hmm.
fully encrypted, right? So.
Yeah, we never have access to data in our cloud services. So whether using FileMaker Cloud or Connect or Studio or what have you, that's stuff we can't get to.
Are you
And
sure?
that's intentional.
Andy, I've
Right?
got $10,000 in cash. Can you get me access to someone's file? No?
You gonna hack it for me? We have people that do pen tests. We work with Apple on our security. I think we're in pretty good shape. I don't know. There may be ways you can extract your data, but
I hear
we can't
bits
get
and
it.
pieces about white hackers and things going on like that, but Apple actually has a team. Without getting into specifics, I think this is one of those, people say, well, Claris is part of Apple. Is that good or bad? And largely it's good because they really take security seriously, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, we can't provide a hosting service without working with Apple's information security, within their protocols. And that's just Apple security and privacy are fundamental, and we follow right along with that. So I think it's a tremendous benefit that our customers can rely on. So.
Yeah, so there's been some testing, white hat hacker type testing against FileMaker products in general, and most of the time those don't come up with much. Every once in a while, a little thing comes up, and there's a security fix. You hear about security fixes. Another reason to stay up to date with your releases of FileMaker, for those of you who are still using FileMaker 16,
Mm-hmm.
might be a thought to upgrade to get into the latest version because you get the performance, you get new features, and you get basically deflector shields that work, right? Right? If you're, for those of you Star Trek fans, you want shields and you want them to work. That would be really fantastic. All right,
Security is a constant battle, right, as well. And, we constantly improve our code. We also use code libraries and, that other people are advancing and making more secure over time. And so as we update those, the product gets better. I know there were general security improvements in the V2 server release, and I'm sure that's part of it as well. So yeah, staying current is kind of part of the strategy that one should employ. It's not the only thing to do for security, but it's a good thing to do in general.
No, it's really good. In fact, you hear bits and pieces and whatnot. And I think when Claris tells you the things they fix security wise, you should just generally take it with a grain of salt. Apple's the same way. Apple says there are security fixes, and a bunch of people will try to pontificate about that. But if they say they fixed one security thing, they probably fixed a dozen. But they just don't want to advertise it because they don't want to invite bad people to try to take advantage of that, right? So that's just my rule of thumb. All right, so are we done?
This actually relates to something as well, Richard, that's in that same engineering blog. If you scroll down to the bottom, there's a portion on auto maintenance. And this is important for our cloud customers. And right now, well, what it is periodically we will perform on our cloud services an auto maintenance, which will close down your system, allow us to do the things that are right there: cloud updates, security updates, operating system updates, and more, right? And then we, reboot the thing and you're good to go. But what happens, of course, like any FileMaker installation, is you may have users that simply never shut down their pro client or try to log in during the auto maintenance period. And historically, we've had some customers where that's caused, contentions that may defer the auto maintenance or put it off entirely. And that's a problem, right? So we're now at a place where you can control the scheduling of the auto maintenance. So it happens during a window that you can work with. And if you boot your users during that auto maintenance period, they cannot log back in until it's done. So we're kind of protecting that. So it's sacrosanct, keeps your cloud in good shape. Right now it's what's the word? Optional. That's not going to be the case forever. Eventually we will make auto maintenance a requirement. So that little note at the bottom: in the future, weekly auto maintenance will not be optional. That's kind of important for our cloud customers to know. So it's worth, if you're an administrator using FileMaker Cloud, take a look at the auto maintenance schedules, make sure it works, on the schedule in the way that you want, and put it to use, because it's good for you. It's good for your data.
Yeah. So this is the normal thing. Even I do here within my company is that I'll be using FileMaker when I never set my computers to sleep, right? They're always running. Mostly because they're Mac minis. They take very little power. It allows me to remote in nice and easy, but the monitors will go off, which means that if I'm in the middle of FileMaker, I will just shut off the monitor and I'm done for the day. And so FileMaker is still talking to the server every 120 seconds, something like that, right? So that's what we're talking about. People who just leave it open, and then the server never sees everyone log off, so it never does the automatic maintenance, right? So that's this conversation here.
Because this will become mandatory at some point for our cloud customers, if they're not listening, not paying attention, there could be a future state where you're trying to log in and you can't get in and you think your cloud is broken. It's not. You're just in the maintenance window. So, we just want to make sure we get the word out, and we're giving some runway with this documentation so people know that it's coming and can prepare.
There's one quick question here from one of our regulars, David Angel. And David Angel's talking about, well, he doesn't like to complain, but sometimes when he tries to open a FileMaker solution, it takes 30 seconds. So real quick, so David is using FileMaker Server, I'm pretty sure. And I'm just going to take this one real quick, Andy. As a reminder, if I jump into FileMaker here real quick, and your network is good, so you can do a ping test and you have really low latency, like, less than, say, 30 or 40 milliseconds. Things are going, reasonably well for you. The other thing you could do in FileMaker is you go to settings and you blow out your cache. And this was something that I personally got in arguments with engineering about, because they gave me a command line to do this. And I'm like, dude, we need a button. And so as a reminder, this will blow out your local cache, because if your local cache on your client gets messed up for some reason and FileMaker's not aware of it or whatever the issue is, you can blow out the cache right here, and no files can be open. So I do this. It says, are you sure you want to delete the cache, blah, 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 blah. And then when it reopens the first time, it's going to download more, but it should start to perform more speedily for you. So that's a Mac and Windows suggestion there for you. It goes for you, Mark. You're kind of an intermediate developer. So if your FileMaker application opens more noticeably slowly, and it's not just you because you haven't been caffeinated or you're over caffeinated or whatever the case is. Check the network and go from there, but you can blow out the local cache on your copy of Pro. I haven't had to do this recently, but I've been there before. We're like, God, why does it take 2 minutes to open this file? Because something's really wrong with the cache. And I just
Mhm.
hit that button and open it up, and then it's like magic. It all works fast, which is great. All
Mhm.
right, cool. Connect August updates. We want to talk about this one real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you'll probably talk about this with Edward when he comes in, but what I wanted to express is that there's been a lot going on with Connect. It's the proverbial duck on the lake with the legs moving underneath, right? There's a lot
Yes.
happening. The engineers have been really in there fixing a lot, improving various connectors, and so we feel like Connect is making some good progress if you're using it. You had mentioned before the Dropbox thing
Yes.
that I said wasn't yet documented, but yeah, we wanted to get that fixed. You told us all about it. The guys jumped on it. There's other things with Box. The FileMaker server and server on-prem connectors are the most popular. Shocking, right? That people that use Connect want to use it with FileMaker. There were a couple things there that went to how we were throwing errors and not really describing what they were, so they weren't very helpful. And now that error descriptions are much more useful. There were some things with Google Drive Mail Parser. I know we had an S3 account error issue that you had to understand how to set something up on the Amazon side, and now we're clarifying some of that. So Edward and the team are really working hard to make sure that the Connect experience is a good one. And between the July and August updates, it just shows a sort of a pace of improvement that I think is worthy of looking at. So checking out the release notes is probably a good idea.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, there'll always be some bugs, but I think that for me, it was to find a couple super low-hanging fruit ideas that would like in my case, most of us in the world of FileMaker, if we're generating PDFs for a customer, invariably we'll generate PDFs that don't fit in an email, right? Because email is
Right.
still this thing that sucks, right? Every year it seems to get more complicated because bad people are finding new ways of abusing email.
Right.
And then we have this 25 megabyte limit. And in my case, I wanted to take a take the PDF, put it in a container, then somehow the container magically teleports itself to Dropbox with a link. So then I put the link in the email to the customer. They get this text email says, this is why your helicopter has a $48,000 repair bill because we have a crack in the tail rotor or something, right? And so
Right.
then we take pictures of it because people say, I don't believe you, $48,000. I'm not paying that. And then you show them pictures of the crack and stuff, and they go, oh, okay. And they start writing a check. And so my one customer was running into this, and so this is now working. So I'm very excited. In fact, I'm going to work on it over the weekend a little bit to get this running for them so they can send pictures to their customers without clogging the outbound email client, right? So
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
yeah,
it's no shock that, Dropbox, Box, Google Drive, SharePoint, all these things that people are using to move files around. It's one of the more popular uses or use cases for Connect. And so we're trying to stay on top of those as best we can, for sure.
yeah, yep. Very exciting. All right, so we have product backlog. Do we want to talk about this a little bit?
Well, sure. I think you're probably aware. I don't know if you've talked about it, but we have the public engineering backlog, right? That we're now providing on Community, and we started doing this after Engage, and it got to be to a point where we needed to give an update. Like we've been knocking things down and finishing them up, and so we wanted to kind of update the backlog. And what it is, it sort of describes it at the top there. It's the things that we have in plan. It's not like long range vision. It's in the next 3 months, maybe 6 months. Here are the things that we're really looking at. We have essentially put into our to-do list, if you will, for the engineers. They're coming out of deep backlog and now they're ready. We're scoping them. We think we can accomplish them in a reasonable time frame. And so we're sharing them so people can get an idea of what's coming to sort of plan. And as well, there's a voting mechanism, right? So you can go in there and give us like, I really want that one, make sure that happens. And, we see something that, spikes and has a lot more votes than the rest. And that's a good indicator for us that we're on a good track with that one. And we want to make sure we do it right and communicate it well. So there's updates across the platform for FileMaker Connect Studio, cloud everything. And at the bottom of the list somewhere, I think Rosemary is indicating as well the things that we're marking complete, if you will. So you can get a sense of the backlog that we've been publishing, the things are actually getting done as well.
They go down here. Oh, it says delivered, 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 delivered. Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, great. So real quick, I want to point something out is that when you vote, some of you will be like, hey, this is all important stuff. So I'm just going to click all of them. That only that moves everything up, but it doesn't help differentiate between things that you think are super important. Like a bunch of you are a hardcore JSON people, and I saw this thing up here, and I figured you'd probably wet your pants. You're so excited about it. This stuff in here, right? I see this stuff. Event-driven insert URL. Some of these could be really big, and so find the ones that are your personal thing that you really think is awesome, and then upvote it, right? Because if you upvote everything, then that doesn't help Claris differentiate at all, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, the move projects within Claris Connect, I think, is a huge deal, right? I want to be able to take a project that I've worked on and I want to essentially redo it somewhere else, right? I was actually watching one of our engineers demonstrate prototypes for this. And, for me, it just goes to mobility. Once I have a flow and it's working and it's great, I want to reuse it. I want to put it somewhere else. I want to move it, upgrade my account from free to pay, whatever. To me, that's a pretty big one. But, I just get one vote. It's all good.
Yeah, well, no, this is one of those deals where I want to beat my head against the wall when I work with Claris, and I'm not picking on you specifically, Andy, but we grew up in a world where we had FP3 files and FP5 files or whatever they were, then FP7, now we have FMP12 files. And so all our stuff fits in this thing, this artifact, this file, right? And it goes, you can give it to your best friend or you can sell it or whatever you want to do. But when you're dealing with an online service, how do you roll it up into a file and distribute it? And of course, Claris initially went, oh, you want to do that? And I want to reach to the internet and slap them. And then, of course, then like, oh, yeah, we should do that. So now they're giving us the ability to, after you build it, like if I build a CRM and I want to give it away to everyone, wink, 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 that's a thing we want to be able to do. They have to put that into some sort of box so we can distribute it, right? So I'm sorry.
I'm taking a little umbrage because it's not like we didn't know. It's just we have priorities and it's on the journey. Robert has been talking about that for quite some time, but I hear you.
Well, yeah, and then if people can resell their work, like if David Angel wants to resell what he's doing, there's a bunch of people on here who actually have vertical market solutions. Then the services, then you can bundle that up and redistribute the service, which is, I think, really, really great. So it's like, okay, cool.
Rather important. I would agree.
I'm just like loosely skimming these, Andy. Let's see. So flow.
Yeah, and that's all I've done so far as well. This just got pushed, I believe, the day before yesterday by Rosemary.
That's what they said. Sangeeta and Ed were like, hey, we just updated this. I'm like, well, dude, I haven't seen it yet. Flow analytics past month. Okay, that's how much so as a reminder to everyone, so you buy I always say 5-pack. You can tell I'm not a Claris employee because you'd say you have 5-user license. It's like a 6-pack of beer. You buy a 6-pack of beer or FileMaker. You get server, you get the clients and everything you need for 5 or 6 or however many people. You also get a free level of Claris Connect. And the free level is like 500 transactions a month, something like that. So being able to track how many you're burning through before you have to spend more money. That's a good thing.
Is important. It's fundamental, right? Like you can go into Connect right now and you can see what your allocation per month is, and you can see how many you've consumed, but we want to give customers more visibility, right? As I was talking with Edward this past week, you don't drive a car without a gas gauge, right? You need to know how many, right? So that you have an idea of how many flows you've got and how many you're consuming, and that helps you do your own ROI calculations. Am I getting the value against what I'm doing? We're also looking, I believe, Edward can talk about this with more authority, but at ways to make the flow count consumption more efficient. Like some of our internal utility steps, we may be able to put in a place where they don't count. And so anyways, we're trying to do right by our customers here and just make the product more drivable, as it were.
Yeah, more drivable. Yeah, gas gauge is always good. You don't have to guess. I mean, yeah, when you find that when you're on the side of the road, that's a hard way of finding out that you're out of gas. I can assure you that the FAA does not appreciate that when flying aircraft and you run out of gas. And even if no one dies, you land on the freeway, you're still you're gonna be called into a meeting where they're gonna discuss the concept of checking the
You
gas
still
tank.
got your slide rule on your watch so you can do the calculations, man?
We actually set a timer because we don't trust the gas gauges on these aircraft. So we actually set, if
Yeah,
we put 2 hours of gas in, we set a clock, it counts down, and it ended
that's
when
right.
it comes down, you need to be on the ground. So
This is
cool.
why when I learned to fly, Richard, I was flying gliders. I didn't want anything that I had to do the calculations for. So
Yes.
no, no.
I can understand that. Yeah, no, we use a big fancy, like a kitchen cook, like an oven cook timer thing. You're going to put your pie in for an hour and then come back or whatever. So,
So
uh,
before this conversation, I really wanted to take a ride with you in a helicopter. Now I'm not so sure.
I actually set the clock and we're good. We always land with at least 30 or 40 minutes of gas left. So there we go.
Right on, right on.
All right, cool. So
Yeah,
this is
I don't even know. I haven't looked at this one in depth yet,
enhance the
Richard. I
benefits
wanted to follow
developed by
up on
allowing
any of that.
developers to automatically reopen data that was previously open before a restart. Okay, but that should only work if it's not been crashed and closed improperly. That's got to be what that is. That's got to be.
For what it's worth, behind most of these summaries are pages and pages of documentation from the engineers
Yes,
on spec and requirements.
I've
So,
seen some of those
yeah.
specs years gone by, and they are quite deep. This is just a very, very short summary. Plugins to access change notifications sent to clients. That could be interesting. That's like a Christian Schmidt thing or something like that. Monkey bread moment right there.
That's
He'll
right.
do something cool with that and make another 100 functions.
Yeah, he's up to 7,400 functions or something like that. A lot of multiple schedule backups running concurrently. Oh, I see. I was thinking, yeah, if you're writing to a disk, then running them in parallel is not going to buy you anything except fragmenting the data more than it would be. So this is multiple separate disks. Okay, that makes sense.
Under app creation, Richard, that I know we were hoping to get into maybe the V2 Rev, but we just didn't have time. But on Open Quickly, I know that Open Quickly has been controversial. We're really looking at the behavior of Open Quickly because we think it's a huge productivity boost for a lot of developers, but we know a lot of developers like, no, it's messy, or it might allow somebody to get to scripts and layouts I don't want them to get to.
If you delete it, I'll be very depressed.
Okay, so let's just be very clear. So I am older than Margaret for obvious reasons, and I don't use Open Quickly. Margaret saw Open Quickly, and she went bonkers with that. She thought it was the best thing ever, but Margaret's mid-20s, right? And that's how 20-year-olds operate. Like if I go to my hard drive and I navigate, oh, I'm in applications, I'm going to roll an application, I'm going to go here, then I'm going to go here. Margaret, if I asked her to go find the applications, I don't think she could do it, right? Everything is, everything is, popping this up and you're, searching for whatever, right? That's how that rolls. And that's an age thing. It's absolutely an age thing. So.
Yep. But cool. Margaret, to be sure, we want to make it better. We're not to get rid of it.
Okay, yes. I'm about to say, because I know that there's so many people who are against it, I will fight you. I don't usually fight people about things, but if we have have to have throwdown about it, I will keep the open.
In your corner, Margaret. I'm in your corner.
All right, yeah. Okay, so this is some inside baseball terminology. So Draco is the underlying database engine for the Claris FileMaker platform. So Draco catalogs support for add-on metadata.
I think what we're doing here is trying to divorce add-ons, not divorce, that's probably the wrong way to say it, make them not dependent on a web viewer object itself. And so I could be beyond my ken here, Richard, because I haven't read this one deeply either. But I know we would like to allow for JavaScript extensibility of apps without needing a web viewer to be.
Yeah, they wanted to be able to load add-ons into the file structure without them don't shove them in a container field or something weird like that. Shove them into a different box that is set aside for this. So as I remember that being talked about, refresh FileMaker consumption, enhance.
This goes to. Yeah, this goes to just updating the Chrome, the user experience of the platform. So as you're using it, it feels modern. It feels like it belongs on the modern OSs and devices. So.
Okay, cool.
Well, that would be cool. It's got a very 90s feel at the moment.
So Margaret, be nice to Andy. We want him to come back.
I'm not being mean. I'm saying that I support the idea. It's a good idea.
Hey, Andy, how's that Model T work for you, Andy? Thanks for driving.
I know, I'm crying over here.
Oh, man.
Actually, to this point, Richard, there was a major Claris milestone this week. Or actually this month, I should say. I don't want to overstretch it, but
what happened?
See that thing right there? I don't know if you can tell what that is.
Let's see, what is that?
How long have I known you, Richard? You see this? It has an Apple logo on it.
Years. Is that a 30-year thing? Is that what that is?
That's a 30-year.
30, congratulations. 30 years.
Congrats.
Polished solid steel. This thing weighs 10.2 pounds, and I'm so excited to have it. So proud to have been with this platform and this company and in this community for, in truth, it's 38 years, I believe. But yeah,
Well, yeah,
it's kind
because
of cool.
you were, I've got 34, 30, yeah, 34 right now. And you start, you're even before that. That's a way back. Okay. All
And that
right.
means over 30 years, I've probably got 3,000 messages of Richard Carlton on my phone somewhere. We go back, brother.
Yeah, we
It's
go
pretty
back. Hey,
great.
FileMaker WebDirect on enter return escape trigger for WebDirect. See, that'll make Nick real happy when you have a card style window and you want to hit escape and have it kind of unwind itself, Margaret.
Oh, so it'll actually acknowledge that interaction inside of a browser? That'd be cool.
Yeah, so this is because we're doing all the live streams right now with Nick on WebDirect. That's kind of super relevant. I don't know when that is, but there's
Mhm.
somewhere. So in progress means it's kind of like, is it like this calendar year maybe, or that
Oh
kind
no,
of
for
idea?
sure. Like literally, we're trying to distinguish plan from vision, right? And vision is, big platform things and that we want to do, and we can say things like support AI throughout the platform. But plan goes to these are the features that we see on the next 3 to 6 month horizon. So just give you an idea to know and plan for what's coming.
So backlog is then farther back than that, but once again, probably not that
Well,
terribly.
in this case, no, everything here is in plan, right? So everything that's on this public page is something you can have reasonable confidence that we're working on and we hope to deliver. I don't want to say we will deliver as a guarantee because, you run down the path and things happen, you discover things that, make it impossible or the game changes. I think we had a plan, 18 months ago, and then, LLM started really taking off and it became very clear that we had to adjust the plan and we had to get some semantic search capabilities into the platform. We had to do it as fast as we could. And so we adjust the plan and we deal with it, right? So.
Well, it's the whole idea of agile, right? So you have a pretty good idea what they're doing over 3 months, somewhat of an idea over 6 months. I think Peter Nelson, the VP of Engineering, says he has no idea what he's doing beyond about 6 months. I don't know how true
We
that is.
talk in terms of 80% confidence to 50% to 20. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, so SAML 2, that's single sign-on stuff, updated. Whenever I see that, I think of a session I went to with Chris Moyer, who was the big SAML person at the time. He was awesome on that. Ability to store and organize JavaScript code when creating or managing FileMaker JS add-on. Yeah, this sounds like that other thing where you're trying to park the code somewhere without it being in a container or a web viewer or almost like another, I don't want to say another parking spot in FileMaker, and I have no idea how they'll implement it, but if you're in FileMaker, site is open. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
Big Valley real quick. Yeah, I mean, for those of you wondering about this, all the data that we have in FileMaker lives either in scripts or it lives up under in the database structure somehow, right? And which is fields and records and tables. But what if you could have another parking spot for something? I don't know. That's the kind of the
Like a new object to hold JavaScript specifically,
I don't know an
or
object. I just don't know what the parking. I mean, we're discussing what does a parking lot look like to park stuff in, and I haven't seen what they're doing. I mean, sure, it's out there. I just haven't seen it. Andy, you have anything you want to add to that besides?
No, I really don't. Again, this is an area where this part of the product I'm not super close to. I can look into it and we can get back to you if you like, but we can
Yeah.
certainly clarify anything on this backlog if there are questions.
Well,
So.
it goes back to the add-on issue and I remember Todd Guys having a coronary about this 12 months ago, probably 12 months ago. And the whole issue was around the idea that to get add-ons because remember add-ons are this block of code that is going to kind of insert itself into your
Mhm.
FMP12 file. That's the idea, but it starts off life already inside a container or inside some other parking spot, and then it gets sucked out of the container, parsed apart, and then reapplied back into the file. It's kind of a
Mhm.
hack. It'd be better if it had so everyone here understands a parking spot to park these things. So they're in there and they're not on a layout. They're not dependent upon a record in a preference table or something like that. So,
Mhm.
okay, eliminate friction. Oh, I always love those words. I'm a big believer in those words.
That's right.
Major versions. Wow. Okay. Update major versions utilizing. Okay. Sparkle is the auto updater, Margaret, when it says, "Hey, would you like me to auto update FileMaker Pro?" Right? That kind of thing.
oh, I didn't realize it had a name.
It's a library. I think it's a library.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's a Windows or Mac or where that comes from.
for
But
sure. Yeah, we want that process to be as easy and modern as possible. So they'll continue to look to refining it for sure.
Okay, the number one item in here, right? I'm not going to even belabor this point. 90 points, 12 points, 2 points. And then we get down here and it's 2,000 points, right? For the free tier of the FileMaker platform. So we can go out and sell it to people and get them to buy it.
I think it's been on the backlog the longest out of most of the stuff on it at this point. Didn't you say this is mostly new?
Yeah, I mean, well, we started publishing the public backlog right after Engage, and it was up there, of course. But Pete started talking about it. We did, golly, about a year and a half ago. In terms of our attention and our vision, we do want people to have a frictionless way to experience the platform, to test it, to play with all the capabilities, and when they're ready to deliver value and deploy, at that point we can fairly ask for money. So it just becomes a more natural sort of on ramp, and we've been testing the model with Connect, and that's actually working rather well because we've got thousands of people signing up, playing with it. Some chunk of those people are committing and starting to build in, real value for businesses and start to pay us. And so, that trajectory, it works. It's the modern way. And, there's a lot of moving parts relative to FileMaker and how we go to market with the platform. So it's not an easy thing to just accomplish overnight, but it's in our vision. And if it's in plan, hopefully there's a chance we can get to it before the end of the year. Well, I'm thinking 3 to 6 month window, right? But again, with 80% certainty and all the things that are happening, we'll see. This is a big one for us. It's important, but it's big. We're not going to just throw something out there that doesn't work. So
It is something we always get a question about whenever you guys come on. We get 2 questions, which is very funny. We always get a variety of people asking about when's the free tier? And then we have one person who is very dedicated, and he asks every time about when are you going to add horizontal portals?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
whether we make the portal object itself horizontal, or if, again, I don't want to overpromise here, and I'm not even saying that this is the intention, but, Studio has a purpose to extend the platform capabilities focused on external, audiences, but we're also learning how to do new user experiences through that model that include, much more sort of dynamic and workable table views, if you will, or table objects. And so that may help drive capabilities like that into the platform to essentially create the equivalent or better of a horizontal portal. So,
oh, that's cool. So Studio also, instead of just taking things from FileMaker, it also adds things back into the FileMaker platform.
but potentially, but I don't want to.
You don't want to, yes.
While I'm saying this, I don't want to say like that's something that's in plan and we're committed to it, because I don't want to dilute the focus that we have on what Studio is about, right? FileMaker, you just crushes it for solving hard problems that matter in your business, right? And building out ERP and running everything in your company. But we know that our customers are also asking, let me reach out to my customers, right? So our developers' customers need access to data in a way that's manageable, has role-based access controls, beautiful experiences, all the things. And so we're driving Studio to be able to solve for that much more elegantly than we can do with the FileMaker tool set. And the two complement each other then in a way that, just becomes part of your toolkit and is a great way to extend on FileMaker. So I know Robert and the team are working really hard on that stuff, but along the way, we are building new controls, new user experiences, new ways to interact with data that, may get to some of these things we'd like to modernize on FileMaker layout someday. Sorry, Richard.
Hey, no, it's super. You reminded me, I've been very busy with Claris lately, and so yesterday, meeting with Robert. Robert is going to be on the show in 4 weeks to show prototype user interface changes or updates with Studio that he wants feedback on. So he's asking for feedback during the show of these things he wants to. It was his suggestion, his idea, and he wants to be here sooner rather than later because they are working to what you just spoke about, making changes, getting validation, getting updates, user feedback to make sure that makes sense. So within 4 weeks, he's going to be here. All of you, just think about that, because if I tell him that Art and Ken and Mike and Labo and Jesse and all the Gadidi, Faksha, Ed, Canberra, all of you, if I tell Robert, I said, you folks will provide him feedback, but I need to make sure that we provide him the feedback so he gets good information to go back to Claris to take action on.
I'm super excited that he's coming out, Richard. I think that what they're cooking has been great. They have some, we sent out a message to the community from Giuliano a couple weeks back that we're not ready to scale to the whole world with it yet. We need to prove success in sort of advanced measures. And we're starting with a number of customers that Robert and Bridget and the team are working with who are actually winning. They're having great success with Studio and finding real world use cases to do the things I'm talking about, extending out to external audiences. And we know that we've actually proven other things like the ability to build the infrastructure to go international and all the things. So like things are getting ready, and we're really focused right now on making sure that we can express FileMaker data in the Studio UX, as opposed to just starting from Studio and bringing data into FileMaker. We should be able to go bi-directionally, and so hopefully he'll be able to start talking about some of that. And then there's more in terms of fundamentals and identity and role-based privileges and whatnot. So that's great. I'm glad he's coming out this year.
No, he's coming out. They were talking about, and none of this is overly secret, but their performance improvements because some of the data back and forth wasn't as fast as they wanted it to be. So across the board, they're learning a lot, like you said, Andy, and they're bringing that learning and they're modernizing and making it better, which is great. All right.
I saw a presentation yesterday, Richard, from a developer that she's actually from Georgia Tech. I live in Atlanta, in case folks don't know. But both my daughters went to Georgia Tech. We're super proud of them. And we have a software engineer that went there. And to your point about improving performance and whatnot, she did a presentation of all things that she's been working on. And it was astounding. I have so much confidence in the direction it's going. So
good.
Go, Jack.
All right. Native support for Let's Encrypt. I thought these are delivered.
We're going to work on Let's Encrypt as well and keep improving it and make it simpler. I think we've got HTTPS tunneling available for server right now, as you know. We want to make that available on all platforms and ultimately also make it available for cloud, which may seem a little weird, but we have a lot of customers that would want it just by regulatory compliance issues, right? We have government customers who require HTTPS through 443, and you have to be able to tunnel through it. So I think some of the advances we've been putting into the platform on the back end for those things, we'll see more coming.
Real quick, just for the newer people on that. So just to be clear, so FileMaker normally historically communicates through a port called 5003, 5003, and there are times when we want to shove things through port. I loosely say 80 and 443 because that's the normal like web browser pages, but 80 is unencrypted, 443 is encrypted with an SSL.
Right.
It's a switch we can turn. So FileMaker quits shoving the data. And we've had a bigger conversation on this before, but for those of you who missed that, for all the FileMaker traffic doesn't run through 5003, it runs through 443, which also makes the IT shops happier because they kind of expect that to a degree. When they see 5003 show up, sometimes they're like, what is this? Who are you? And what the hell are you doing? And no. And then they say,
get through this port.
And then they go, no, right? And there's quite a bit. Oh, there was a couple of things in Slack. What else we had? Backlog, Community Live. Do we want to talk about Community?
Yeah, I just want to throw out that I don't know. I mean, you are the premier streaming server in our community, Richard, but we have started getting Rosemary out there as well. And she's now been inviting folks in every week or two. And there's been some really great topics on Community Live. So, I think we had women talking about security. We've had a number of sessions now about AI and semantic search. Chris Ippolite did one a couple of weeks ago on prompt engineering. And it was a masterclass. It was kind of 101 level, but he's so good. So I would encourage people to come look at these. And then actually yesterday we had our customer, I don't know if the audience has seen.
Tire shop. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a fantastic customer story. I introduced Jamie and the company at Engage last year. It's a tire shop, right? You would think of it as not the most advanced technology org, right? But they want to be the tire shop for the digital age. And they have built an incredible business, disrupted their industry. And Jamie himself is a former race car driver. He's a very pragmatic guy. And he's figured out how to use our platform to essentially build out an ERP environment for their company. He came and did an interview on our live yesterday, and I didn't see it. I'm going to wait for the recording, but the feedback I've been getting from customers has been fantastic. So I encourage people to check out Community Live.
We're kind of landing the plane and we're coming up the top of the hour. Does anyone have any additional questions?
I think we've also announced the save the date for Engage. Is that right?
Oh yeah, let's talk about that briefly. So you were going back to the same place, right? Is that correct?
We are, but with some changes based on customer feedback. I think last year we did the keynote on site and we were in two different rooms, and had a freak accident where the second room lost audio for 6 minutes. We don't want that happening again. So I think we're looking for a facility where we can get the entire audience in. We're going to invite more people this year. So we can, get everybody in there that wants to get in there. We had some folks that felt boxed out because the invite list was too small. We're getting more space in between sessions so people can do the thing that we love at Engage, which is get together and rap and talk and socialize and figure out what each of us is learning and what we care about. So I think it's going to be an improved Engage, but still at the Apple facility there. And, there are a lot of things about it that were great. And I think we're doing everything we can to make the event better. So.
No, I thought, sometimes you go to conferences and the food sucks and the property is not great. I thought that the property was aces. Of course, it's fairly new, which is nice. And we were eating at the Apple cafeteria, and this one thing, or at least that one night, and then they provide the food elsewhere. But Apple spends a lot of money on good food, which is,
They do a pretty good job with food, I gotta say.
Yeah, I was like one of those rare times where, like, God, the eggs and whatever is horrible, right? At no point did I feel like we got ripped off on the food thing, so that was nice. Well, this is Engage. I was hoping that because I know that the developers who not presented, but they make the products, a product vendor fair. It was spread over floors, and there was some with that. Hopefully, we can get that and get them happier about the experience with that.
Yeah, I agree. I think we want the exhibitors to have the best experience there possible. What I did like is that all the exhibitors were kind of in a central area in between all the rooms across the floors. I met every one of them. I was walking by everybody. So I think it can work well, but we'll do everything we can for the exhibitors as well as the attendees. You bet.
Yeah. So it's very exciting. So the dates are, if I go back to the top, March 25th, 26th, and then there's a bonus day on the front end or back end. Is it? Oh, 27th.
Actually, back end this year, Richard. It's a back end this time. Just happened the way the scheduling worked out. So
okay, great. Yeah, the facility, the campus is top notch there. And that makes it really nice. It very professional.
Hopefully it won't be too hot by then. I guess we're getting into late March in Texas. You never know. And then I would recommend looking in through the hotels. I think the more we can get people close to each other, the better. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope everybody will come, and it'll be a great time.
We do have a question about Engage. Apparently that you guys were at one point considering hosting Engage in Portugal. Are you guys ever going to revisit that topic, or like have it Engage in Europe somewhere, or is it going to be USA exclusive for the moment going forward, or do you know?
I think the answer is probably a TBD. I don't know specifically. I do know we love the idea, and we were doing it, and then COVID happened, right? And so, historically, the community in Europe was really just amazing about doing different events in different countries, potentially in different languages. And so we would actually come over and do like a roadshow tour for a couple of weeks. And Brad and, senior developers, whatever, would come and visit. Rick Kalman would travel up city to city. And that's exhausting for us, but it was great. But there was a drive in the community that if we could get together in one place, have everybody in one place, that'd be better. We like the idea as well. But like I said, pandemic happened, and with the uncertainties of when everybody's ready to get back together again, we've been blessed to support Engage U and .fmp and the Rome conference and others that have started springing up again. They're really good events. I'm hoping to attend Engage U this year. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. Margaret, I guess, is the answer. I think we would entertain it. We just have to figure out the right time. And
I do have a comment here from the Queen. The Queen Bee is now monitoring our activities. Andy, you better be on your best behavior. She says that there are plans to improve the exhibitor experience and to make it so we all have lunch at the same place. It's so funny over the years because the team, for those of you don't understand this, the team at Claris is, well, Andy's been there 321 years. He got his gold medal or silver block of steel back there.
That's right.
Most of the people at Claris are not that experience, and so going to this conference for some of them was the first time they'd put on a conference like this. And so years before, we if the food was separated from the vendors as they're demonstrating their stuff, that was always a showstopper. So if you put the food in the middle of the vendor, so as you're trying to eat, you can walk around and see all the cool plugins from whoever or whatever the service is. Yeah. And so Rosemary's making a big point that the food and the exhibitor experience will be at the same place, which is, awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, cool.
Thank you,
Anything?
Rosie.
Yeah, she's here. So, and there goes a whole hour right there, Andy. So there we go. Very good. All right, everyone, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your time today. It's
You're
always
very
great to be
welcome.
here.
Glad everyone is here. So if you have any questions about or you missed something today, shoot me an email, or just generically to support at rcconsulting.com. Say something about live stream or for Richard, whatever. You want to give Andy a free ride in your fighter jet. Andy is up for any sort of aviation experiences. So that is it. Cool. All right, everyone. We'll catch you next Monday. See ya.